important for us to access Canvas just to get an idea of what is expected of the course, since everything that we're going to be submitted in the course is going to be through Canvas. So really quickly, let's go and look at Canvas just to make sure that all of us are on the same page. We know what's due this week and we know what our responsibilities are for this week. So let me quickly take us to the Canvas page. So let me share the screen right now. Okay. So this is what our Canvas page looks like thus far. At the very top, you will always find information that gives us like general information about the course. So we have the welcome letter that I sent to you all about a week ago. Also, our class syllabus is located right here. Please, please, please read the syllabus so that you know about deadlines, you know what assignments you're going to have for the session, you know what the policies are and all of that. Also right here, I have course policies, which basically is just like telling you what are like, you know, rules and all of that of the course. One of the things that I really wanted to talk about is late work. So because it is an online platform and you do have the time and the flexibility to submit your work anytime during the week, it is really important for you to get your work on time. So every single assignment except for the checking assignment, which I'll talk about in a second, but every single assignment for this class will be due on Friday at 11:59 p.m. And if for some reason you're not able to get it in by Friday at 11:59 p.m., I give you a grace period until Saturday at 11:59 p.m. to submit an assignment, and it will be half credit. If you have an emergency or something is going on with your life, reach out to me before the assignment is due so that I know and I am like on the same page as you are. So in case you need an extension or in case you have some issues and you would like, you know, a couple more days or anything like that, just let me know, keep me in the loop, and I'm willing to work with you through anything. So next thing I wanted to talk about are drops. So tomorrow at 11:59 p.m., your check-in assignment is due. Your check-in assignment is the conflict styles assignment, and I'll go over it in a minute, but you have to submit that assignment tomorrow by 11:59 p.m. If that assignment is not, if there's not an entry for that assignment tomorrow at 11:59 p.m., you will be dropped from the course. It doesn't matter if you have submitted the other assignments that are due at the end of the week. If that check-in assignment is not submitted, you will be dropped from the course. So I'm just letting you know, and just submit it, get it in. If, as you all know, you know, like Pasadena, like is notorious for canceling classes during the first week, all of that. So if we have a lot of drops, this class will likely get canceled. So just get in your work on time, submit it. And if for some reason you're having some technological difficulties or you're having some emergency tomorrow and you can't submit it by that time, let me know so that I don't drop you from the course. But there is really, unless there is a medical emergency or something big like that, I definitely want you to submit that by 11:59 p.m. tomorrow. Attendance and participation, make sure that you submit your discussion post. Try your very, very best to be in our Zoom meetings because I will be breaking down the material here. I will go in through PowerPoint slides and all of that. So make sure that you join our Zoom meetings so that you can ask me questions, you look at the material, you get a better understanding of it, and make sure that you submit your discussion posts and your quizzes. So make sure that you're present, you are submitting the work online, you're reading the pages and the book that's online. So thus far, do we have any questions or are we good? Okay, cool. So those are the policies. And next this is where you'll find the link. For those of you who are here, I'm guessing you found it right. So find it perfectly fine. So the link will be right here, which is the Zoom Live Lectures link. Every week I will also be posting a recording of what we talked about in the Zoom lecture at the very end of the week. So I will be posting this recording probably either Friday or Saturday. So it will be posted at the very end of the week. So make sure that you are here during the Zoom meeting so that you are able to get the information earlier, because otherwise by the time that you get your information, all of your assignments are going to be due already. So you're not going to have that extra knowledge and time to process the information. So this is the module that's due this week. And, you know, the checking assignment is this one, that tell us your conflict style. So this assignment is basically just you taking a quick quiz that is attached to the previous page, and it's like attached for you conveniently here. Just take a conflict style quiz, which basically like, kind of like lets you know how you handle conflict. And that is really, really important in an argumentation class, like just learning how you handle conflict, because that's the way that you'll learn how you argue and what you expected of an argument. And it will just like make sense as we progress throughout the session. So take the quiz, read the conflict styles article, and answer these questions. You must submit it again by tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. You can do it through Flipgrid. So Flipgrid allows you to log in, and like you can even use your phone. If you download the Flipgrid app to your phone, you can use the Flipgrid app on your phone. I have the Flipgrid app over here as well. So it looks like this. And just like download the Flipgrid app on your phone, and it's right there. It looks like this, and it's really simple. It's this app right here, really simple. You could just like literally use like phone camera, film yourself for this. And also it's really a good idea to get familiarized with Flipgrid, since all the presentations that we have this semester will be done through Flipgrid. So it'll just like, you could literally put the camera, like just like film yourself. Also, the assignment requires you to answer to 2 classmates who have somewhat similar styles to you. When you respond to your classmates, you film a response video, again, using Flipgrid. You film a response video to that classmate, and you'll just do it by clicking on their video, and it'll said like, film a response. They'll give you the option, and that's how you go about doing that. But again, this is the assignment that is due tomorrow, June 23rd at 11:59 p.m. And besides that, I have a couple pages here for you to kind of like get a better idea of the material. Again, you also have to read the chapters in the book, which are chapters 1 and 2, which are the ones that are assigned for this week. Reading the chapters and looking at the pages and attending the lectures will like start connecting things for you. And besides your check-in assignment, you also have 2 other assignments due this week. You have discussion post number 1, which is called Are You Afraid of the Dark? And you have 15-minute paper number 1. As the name says it, you have 15 minutes to take this quiz. It has 2 questions, and they're just like kind of like a short answer question. And it's not like you have to write a paragraph or an essay or anything like that. It's just that your answer takes more than 1 or 2 words. Your answer to those questions will probably be 1 or 2 sentences. And you have 15 minutes, and you only have 1 attempt to take that quiz. So if you are going to click on this assignment, make sure that you are ready to take the quiz, because you only have 1 attempt, and once that attempt is done, it will lock the quiz for you. So just click on it when you are absolutely ready to take the assignment. So that literally is what our class looks so far. As the weeks keep on progressing, your other modules are going to start popping up with all the assignments. I know that a lot of people ask me the question if it's like, if you can possibly complete all the coursework or like get ahead. That's not how the course works. It will start, the assignment modules will start unlocking weekly by week, and they will unlock on Sundays. Depending on like what we're talking about, I will have probably some of them unlock earlier, like when you're taking the midterm or your final. I'll probably give you a couple extra days to access the module in case you want to take the midterm or you want to study earlier or something like that. But this is pretty much what our Canvas page looks like. And again, like I said, all the modules will start popping up as we get to those weeks. So by the end of this week, you will start seeing week number 2 pop up. So with that being said, I know that it seems like it's a lot of information, and it is, but I think that I just wanted to clarify what's going on with Canvas, because a lot of people get confused with it. But now let's get into, let me just give you a little bit background on myself, and then we'll get into today's material that we're covering. So this is my first year teaching at Pasadena City College. I've been teaching here since last fall. So I started teaching here literally when, everything like went online. So I haven't actually had to teach face-to-face just yet. I will be in the fall semester. I will be teaching an interpersonal class, Pasadena College, but I have been teaching for 6 years. I got my bachelor's and master's from Cal State Northridge. I also teach there. So I teach at CSUN, I teach at Los Angeles Pierce College, I teach at Santa Monica College, and I teach here at Pasadena. So I teach like at different places, and I teach pretty much everything in the communication studies discipline, but argumentation is my specialty. And you will see as throughout the session how much I love this class and how just like how fun it is to dive into argumentation. And with that being said, let's dive in because I absolutely love this class. So today we're going to be covering chapter 1, which is argumentation and human symbolic interactions. So I'll just cover like a couple, like the main parts that I want to discuss about the chapter, and the rest of them are, you know, I've written them down in pages so that you can read them and you can just like use that reading with the book and just compare and contrast to understand it better. So one of the things that a lot of us think when it comes to argumentation is that we just like want to like jump into the concepts and all of that. But, you know, one of the things that we need to understand is that argumentation it has to do a lot with the way that we use language and the way that we understand language. So the objectives for this particular lesson are to understand and differentiate between the two definitions of the word argument. So the word argument has two definitions. And also we're going to describe Brocady's arguers. So one of the things that I wanted to mention is that your book, the 3rd edition, does mention Brocady's arguers, but it does it like very, very vaguely. So I have given you a lot of resources to actually understand Brocady's arguers a little bit better. But they're very, very important to understand. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about are symbols. So when you think of a symbol, most of us think of, you know, a stop sign, or when we are driving, we think of a traffic light. We know that red means stop, green means go, and yellow means slow down, right? That's usually what they mean. And sometimes, like, you know, we have to sit down and think about it. Like, how do we know that red means stop, yellow means slow down, and green means go? Like, how did you come to know that those things, you know, mean that? And that's where symbols come in. So language, our language is it's made up of symbols, and symbols are basically a type of sign. So a sign refers to something that represents something else. So for example, when we think about the stop sign, right, we think of that little red octagon, right? And even without having the word stop on it, when we see a red octagon, we know that it means stop, right? And it doesn't have words to it. It doesn't have anything in it. It's just a red octagon. So that is a sign that is representing the word stop. So every single word in the English language or whatever other language you speak is a sign or a symbol that represents something else. So when we think about the word cat, the word cat has no meaning besides representing the actual furry animal, which is the cat. That's why it is referred to as a symbol. Does that make sense? So our language is made out of a bunch of symbols. It's a symbol system. Words represent like the objects, the thing, whatever it is that we're referring to, that's what words represent. And like I was saying, symbols are the building blocks of our language system. If we didn't have words, it would be really, really hard for us to kind of like tell somebody what we have seen, what we have thought about. Just to kind of like share ideas and emotions would be extremely difficult. So let's say back in the, you know, earlier days, like when we were like living in like the caveman era, right? If I were to walk by and see like this amazing tree that had tons of fruit, and I wanted to tell people like in my little cave tribe, if I wanted to tell them that I had seen these delicious fruits on a tree, I don't have words to tell them that. I would have to physically take them to that place to show them what I mean. And language system, the symbols that we use for a language system have allowed us to create the world as we know it. And basically, having a language system helps us create relationships and help us create society. So think about history books, think about laws, think about just having a sentimental romantic relationship with someone. Without language, that wouldn't exist. We wouldn't have a law system, we wouldn't have history that we pass down from one generation to the next. We wouldn't have any of that. So society as we know it has been created through the use of this through the use of this language system that's made out of symbols. So I bet a lot of us hadn't thought about that ahead of time. And one of the things that symbols kind of like show us is that because symbols represent something else, we don't necessarily always agree with one another as to their meaning. So for example, let's say that you've had a relationship with a significant other, and to each one of you, the word love means something else. So for that person, they might tell, a rock, that they love the rock. But for you, the word love means so much more. Like you have to have a deep connection, a deep feeling, deep relationship with that person to share that word, right? So when that person tells you, I love you, you're thinking, wow, like they're saying this big, big thing, like, they love me. Amazing, right? But remember, to them, they say, I love you to a rock. So to them, it's not a big deal. To you, it's a big deal. And that's what leads to misunderstanding, right? But also language allows us to reach compromise. So through the use of argumentation, through the use of language, we're able to reach compromise when there is some type of discrepancy or disagreement when it comes to something. So again, without language, you couldn't talk to your significant other and let them know how you feel, right? Or explain why is it that you are 30 minutes late to a very important meeting. You wouldn't be able to do any of those things if we didn't have language. So anybody have any questions thus far? Okay. Seems like
For the test, I had a question. I'm sorry.
Of course, go ahead.
For the quiz, the 15-minute essay or whatever, is any information on these slides like regarding stuff that will be on that quiz?
So usually there will be some information from these slides. There might be some information on the quiz, or it will come up on the midterm, or some of the material will build up on it. So it just there might be one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. All right. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is this. Okay. So when we look at these things, okay, so for example, this guy right here, how many of you have seen this guy before? Like you can nod or something. Have you seen this guy before? Some of you have, right? And some of us are familiar with the Big Cats movie and how it flopped, in television and all of that good stuff, right? So we're familiar with this. So with this guy, he is the Ancient Aliens alien guy, right? So he's the one who basically says that everything is aliens. The pyramids in Egypt, aliens. Like the little like Stonehenge aliens. He says that everything is aliens. So, and right here, the movie Cats, people really dislike that movie. Because it creeped people out, the fact that they saw a human cat hybrid situation, right? And it's really interesting because like a lot of you were saying here in the chat, you have seen this person before. You know what this person does and says, right? I didn't really have to say much about this person. And memes are they're kind of like signs and symbols, right? So like when we look at certain memes, like for example, if we look at the Mr. Krabs meme, a lot of you know what I'm talking about. Or if there's that really weird white cat thing meme, I don't know what it is, it's like some type of cat, you know what I'm talking about, right? And it's really interesting because this kind of like demonstrates what language does. Looking at these memes is what language does, right? They stand for something else, and a lot of us either understand it or a lot of us don't understand it. So, and that's what leads to discrepancies. That's what leads to arguments, which is really interesting. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is the definition of the word argument. So when we think of the word argument, a lot of us are just like thinking of it in a negative way. Just hearing the word argument, we think automatically of a fight. We think of negative feelings, anger, a lot of emotions, something that we have to avoid, right? But that's not really what argument means. So when we talk about the first definition of the word argument, it's the claims that people make. So for example, if I were to tell any of you, In-N-Out is the best burger in the world, that is what argument one stands for. My claim, my stance, that's what argument one definition means. So, and it's really interesting because different claims come from different backgrounds. So somebody who probably lives on the West Coast might think, no, like In-N-Out's not the best burger on the East Coast. I mean, somebody who lives in the East Coast might be like, no, In-N-Out's like not the best burger. Like, Shake Shack is like the best. Or somebody, and there's like Whataburger that's like in Texas. Like somebody might say like, no, Whataburger is the best, right? So because we come from different backgrounds, we have different claims, right? And all of like our stances and our ideas come from our value system and our background. So some of us might think that like a certain burger is better than the other, or like a certain band is better than the other, or just going to a certain place is better than the other. And that's what the definition of argument one is, the stance that you have. Argument two, on the other hand, is the actual communication interaction that happens when you disagree. So the moment where somebody says something like, oh, like, I think that Netflix is such a ripoff and a waste of money. And then you say, no, it's not. That moment, the moment that that interaction begins, that disagreement begins, that's when the definition of argument two comes in. That's when an argument happens. The process of disagreeing, that's the definition of argument two. And one of the things that I want you to think about when it comes to this class is that this class, yeah, I am going to teach you about debates. I am going to teach you how to form a really good argument and all of that. But besides that, one of the things that we want to do is that we want to learn how to argue in a way that is not only effective, but it also helps us retain and keep our relationships intact. A lot of us, are scared that and we hold arguments in, or like things that we don't like, we hold them in because we are so scared that if we start the argument, our relationship is going to go downhill. But in this class, we're going to talk about how to start an argument and how to support it in a way that it's not going to really hurt the other person's feelings, but it's going to be sound, well put together. And we're also going to talk about when it's a good idea to back out of an argument, because sometimes if you have an argument with a person and you know that there's no way that that person will change your mind, sometimes it's not worth it to even enter the argument. So again, argument one definition is the stance or the claim that you make. Argument two is the actual process of entering an argument. All right, awesome. So next thing that I'm going to talk about is how argumentation and values are just are really, really, really important, and they're connected. So the first thing that I want to talk about is that any single statement that you make, any claim that you make, or any argument that you make, it's based on your value system. So basically our values shape how we side in an argument, which we determine to support and which we don't. So think about it. So some of you might be thinking, okay, like big arguments. So like, for example, legalization of, oh my God. So like recently, I believe that some of like the little, I don't want to say shrooms because that sounds weird, but like some, psychedelic mushrooms have been legalized in some places, right? Because like people have seen that it does like help some type of like, I don't know necessarily, I haven't done research on it, but it has been legalized in some places, right? And some people might be like, oh, cool, like if we legalize, like the more drugs we legalize, and we control, the better the system will get and the less crime we'll have, right? Other people, on the other hand, might say, depending on their value system, they might say no, because like if you give people like the access to this, you're saying it's okay, so more people will do it. So depending on like what value system, like what your family taught you, who you grew up around and all of that, depending on all of that, it's what's going to shape your opinion towards a specific claim or not. Same thing with like the death penalty, depending on who you grew up with or what kind of like experiences you have had, if you will either support it or you will be either against it, depending on, again, your value system. And one of the things that I want to remind people of is that just because somebody else has a different value system than what you have, it doesn't make them right or wrong. Remember, like every single background where we come from, we have different experiences, and those experiences are what shapes the truth of what we know, right? So some of us might have experienced, some like helpful things with the legalization of drugs, and some of us might have a negative connotation with it. And again, our experiences are important, and it shows that there is more than one truth to all of these experiences. And again, we argue based on value structures. So a lot of us have probably gotten into arguments that are really, really touchy and that we argue based on values. So for example, like you might get into like, this is an argument that I have gotten into with my husband a lot. And we're just like, why is it that I get to do more chores, right? Like, and he's like, because like you are like, the mom and like the homemaker, that's why you get to do more chores. And I'm like, but what labels me that? Like, what do you mean I'm the mom and the homemaker? Yeah, I'm the mom and I teach from home, but that doesn't really make me the most responsible one. So yeah, but that's what you do. And he obviously grew up with a different set of value systems that I did, right? And that's when we have these arguments, right? To him, it makes sense that I would be the one who takes up all the housework, right? But to me, it doesn't make sense because I have a different value structure that tells me that I shouldn't be the one that carries on all the housework. So again, these are a couple of things that a lot of us might not really think about, but we argue based on value systems, and what might seem right to another person might seem completely wrong to us. So I just wanted to share that example with you so it makes a lot more sense to you all. So I also wanted to talk about ethics and argumentation. So a lot of people, when they look at arguments or when they look at debates, we think of politics. Like that's the first thing that we think about. And I just wanted to just throw it out there that when you think about political debates, we're going to talk about it as we get closer to the end of the session. Political debates are not like the example of things that you should be looking at. They're not really debates. They're more like press conferences. And we'll get to that as we get to the end of the semester. But people just they get turned off about debates because they just look at, the political candidates, just basically yelling at each other, not really answering the question, kind of just giving wishy-washy answers, right? And people just get really upset about it and they don't want to have anything to do with arguments or debates. But this is where ethics comes in. As an arguer, when we talk about ethics, we are referring to, ethics refers to what is proper behavior when you interact with others, right? So most of us in our daily lives, we wouldn't yell at each other like they do in political debates, or call each other their names, and mostly in a professional setting, we wouldn't do that type of stuff. So when we look at political debates, most of these events are not really ethical because the candidates are not showing appropriate conduct. They're not acting very mature most of the time. So it's important that when you are having a debate or you're having a discussion with someone, you are an ethical arguer. And what this means is you want to have good motives. And when we think about political debates, the motives of the candidates are basically, one, they want the undecided voters to kind of side with them. And two, they want to make the other person look weak and look less intelligent, look like they're not good enough compared to them, right? They want to seem aggressive and that they have the upper hand, and they want to make the other person look weak and unprepared and just not the right person to run the country, right? As an arguer yourself, you want to make sure that you are arguing, again, respectfully, and that you also have good expectations out of the argument. So if I'm arguing, for example, that I believe that, all drugs should be legalized and controlled by the government and all of that, I'm not gonna do that because like, I just wanna like be right and I wanna prove that I'm smarter than you. I'm doing it because I have a set of value system and ideas and support that's going to show why that solution is right. Does that make sense? So somebody who's not ethical when it comes to arguing will be somebody who just argues for the sake of arguing, has zero information to back up their ideals, zero evidence, and is just talking for the sake of talking. And that's something that you don't want to do because you might think that it makes you look like really powerful if you do that, but technically your argument is pretty empty. So you want to stay away from that and avoid that. And this is where we come into Brocady's arguers. So this is our last slide for the class today. And Brocady's arguers, before I actually show you the slides and you actually like kind of like dive into this guy, he used some like pretty intense words to describe his arguers. So I don't necessarily like these words, but to preserve the originality of the work of this guy, we're gonna use those words. So Brockady was a rhetorician and he kind of like was examining the different type like ethics behind arguing, and he was trying to look at kind of like categorize the different types of arguers that we have and the reasons why they argue the way that they do. He came up with 3 of them. And again, you can see that these words are pretty intense. So the first one that he came up with is called the rapist arguer, quote unquote. And he said that this type of arguer is the one who talks to the audience as inferior, like somebody who is talking down to the audience, making them feel like they're not intelligent, that they don't have control of their lives, that basically they're just useless and they're not as good enough as they are. What they want to do is they want to manipulate and control the audience and just get them to do whatever they want them to do. So for example, think about it this way. So if you ever had an argument, right, with your parent when you were a child, and your parent would be like, no, you can't do this, and you would say, but why not? Because I said so, because I know better. And I'm not saying that your parents have bad intentions, like they don't, but that interaction, that argument, like saying because I know better, because I'm older, because I'm better, that signals this type of argument. Also, another example that we see is when we think of a dictator, kind of like telling people what to do. It does make people feel inferior. It makes them feel like they have lack of control, and it makes them feel bad. Or that's the type of arguer that we're looking at. Like, definitely, like I see this a lot. Again, in politics, when you see political debates, usually this is the type of arguer that we see because they're trying to either make the other person, the other candidate seem inferior. They're trying to manipulate and control the time and just make the other person seem like they're less intelligent. The next type of arguer is called the seducer. This one is not quite as intense as the first one, but it's still pretty bad. This one is the one who tries to persuade you to do something through charm and deceit. And they do it because of personal gratification. So think about it this way. You know, when you go to the mall, or when we used to go to the mall back in the day, right? Pre-COVID, when you used to go to the mall and you will walk by and you have those people that are in those like little hair kiosks, right? And they follow you around. They try to pull you in to kind of like try out their hair products. Or when you go to a department store and somebody's like, oh, that dress looks really good on you. Oh, this will smell really great on you. You know, you have to buy it. And they basically are getting you to buy the product that they want you to buy. And they're not doing it because they actually care about you looking good, or like you smelling great, or you having the most fabulous hair in the world. They're not doing it for that. They're doing it for like personal objective to meet their sales, right? For personal gratification. So that would be this type of arguer. Now, the type of arguer that you want to aim to be is called the lover. And wait. Let's see this video. I had posted it, but I don't know if it's gonna work. Nope, it's not working. So sorry about that. So anyways, the last type of arguer that I wanted to show you, it's called the lover. And the lover is a type of arguer that treats everybody as equal, and they have a respectful bilateral relationship, meaning that they have a nice exchange back and forth. So for example, if I'm having a debate with someone, I'm not going to attack their character. I'm not going to attack their intelligence or the way that they look. I'm not going to just have empty arguments without backing up or evidence or anything like that. I'm going to prepare my argument ahead of time. I'm going to back it up with clear evidence, and I'm going to allow that person to have a chance to counteract my arguments and share their position. We're going to have a nice, clear back and forth. And as you can see, that's why it's called the lover, because it's based on the principle of equality, treating somebody as human. And this is basically what the type of arguing that we want to see, whether it be in your interpersonal relationship, whether it be at work, whether it be when you're having an academic debate. This is the type of debate that we want to see. We want to make sure that you have backed up your argument with evidence and that the evidence is sound and well put together, that you allow the other person to counter your argument, you give them time to speak, and that you're not attacking each other besides the argument that you're talking about, right? You're never meant to attack your opponent, you attack their argument, not your opponent. So with that being said, that's what I wanted to talk to you all about today. I wanted to talk to you all about chapter 1. On Thursday, we will be meeting once more and we'll be talking about chapter 2, and I will be going into a lot more details. I know some of you have emailed me and have concerns. I will get back to your emails right now after I log out of the class. But if you have any questions before we meet again on Thursday, shoot me an email. I'm here to help you out. And with that being said, you're all free to go. You all have a good day. Bye.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
For the responses, what are you looking for? Like what type of response, for example, for the first assignment, the check-in assignment? So you're saying to make a comment to someone else that has a similar argument style. So with that, what more can be said that won't be full of jargon, let's say, or, you know?
For example, let's say that when you give your original entry, you're explaining, hi, you know, I have this particular argument style and, you know, I don't agree with it, blah, 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 because of these reasons. So the person, if I were to respond to your video, I would say, hi, I got the same argument style and I can see how you got that answer, but you know, for example, I got this answer and I disagreed with it. So like, kind of like just like engaging into a conversation. So if you were face-to-face in class, like what would be something that you would like to tell them? That if you got the same styles, or where do you differ? Or is it exactly the same? Or do you also think that the answer you got was, you know, not accurate? Just basically carrying a conversation just so that you get to know your classmates a little bit better.
Okay. So like opinion towards agreeing or disagreeing that, you know, this is why you felt positive or negative about the response or
absolutely.
Yeah, the style that you got. Okay. That makes sense.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think, oh no, wait. I don't. That question was answered already. Okay.
All right, cool.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, thank you.
Professor, I have a question.
Yes, Andrew, how can I help you?
So for the response, like the initial response, for the check-in assignment, do you want us to like actually like film it as we're going through it, or how do you like want us to just
so just take the quiz first and write down your response on a piece of paper, just like screenshot it or whatever, and then when you are filming your little video, just kind of like summarize what you got, whether you agree or disagree with it, whether you think it was accurate or not, and that would be it. So just like get the assignment done first and then record your video.
Okay. Thank you. And are there like any like requirements with the video that you need?
Just use Flipgrid and just make sure that it's not longer than 4 minutes. Besides that, you're good. And I also need to see your face.
Okay, so you want the camera on?
Is seen.
Okay.
Thank you for asking, Andrew.
Thank you.